how can you help yourself to remember the trig IDs? Well, Mr. Wu showed me this drawing. He said that when he was growing up in Taiwan, that all the students had to remember this diagram, and I just loved it. So you draw a hexagon, that's 6 sides, and put a 1 with a circle in the middle. And then from each of the angles of the hexagon, you draw a line to the center, and then leave the top one blank. So shade in every other one, but leaving the top one blank. Now, I'll start with tangent on the left. It's reciprocal across from that. And then I'll tangent sine over cosine, and then it's reciprocal across from that, and it's reciprocal across from that. So you do have to know how to set this up. All right, let's talk about the reciprocal identities using this diagram. Tangent is 1 over cotangent. Sine is 1 over cosecant. Cosine is 1 over secant. Cotangent is 1 over tangent. Cosecant is 1 over sine. And secant is 1 over cosine. So that works, this diagram works very well for the reciprocal identities. How about the quotient identities? Well, go around the outside of the circle. Tangent is sine over cosine. That's one we learned. The other one was cotangent is cosine over sine. Can we go further than that? Yes. Cotangent is cosecant over secant. Tangent is secant over cosecant. Cosine is cotangent over cosecant, and cosine is also sine over tangent. Secant is also tangent over sine. As long as you start with 1 and go in either direction and say, this is the numerator, that's the denominator. If you're starting here, this is the numerator, the next one is the denominator, then you'll come up with all sorts of crazy quotient identities. And we can show that they are true fairly easily. And the last one, Pythagorean identities. That one's a little bit more difficult to see. We have to follow the 7s. So take a look at this 7 here. And you see that that looks kind of like a 7 if that's the base of the 7? Well, here it is. You just have to remember to square them. Sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. I'm following the 7. How about this one? There's another 7 there. I'll say 1 plus cotangent squared theta equals cosecant squared theta. I'm following this 7. And our third 7 is over here. Doop, doop. And we'll say tangent squared theta plus 1 is equal to secant squared theta. So you can see, if you follow your 7s, you get the Pythagorean identities as well. The only ones that we don't have with this are the cofunction identities. That would require you to draw this little picture here. And remember, we said this was 90 minus theta, or pi over 2 minus theta for our cofunction identities. And our even and odd identities. Remember, the even odd identities were, for even, it was f of negative x equals f of x. And for odd, it was f of negative x equals negative f of x. So you have to remember, when does this negative disappear with the even ones? When does it pop out in front with the odd ones? What are the even functions? Oh, cosine and its reciprocal, secant. The other ones are odd. So if you can remember this diagram, you get your reciprocal IDs, your quotient IDs, your Pythagorean IDs for free. Don't forget your cofunction identities. Sine and cosine are linked. Tangent and cotangent are linked. Secant and cosecant are linked. Your even odd identities, well, the only even ones are cosine and secant, and the rest are odd identities. Drink those in with your eyeballs. Know them backwards and forwards, and that will serve you well in the lessons to come.